What up, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Matt Wyatt. So, I'm going to be reviewing the second James Cameron movie that he directed, and it's called Aliens, that came out in 1986. And this is the direct sequel to the original Ridley Scott's Alien that came out back in '79. It's continuing to moving forward on with the story with Ellen Ripley, played by Sigourney Weaver, who was in the first film, who was the sole survivor of the incident of her crew, and has been in a cryogenic for over 56 years and comes out of it knowing that everyone she knew and loves are gone. Now she's being put back into the ship where now she and the Marines are sent out on a rescue mission in a terraforming colony, only but to find themselves battling with the alien queen of the xenomorphs and her offsprings. I watched this a little bit late in the game when I was in my early 20s, and because I did not watch this when it came out in the theatrical run because I wasn't born at that time. This movie came out before my time, and I only watched like bits and pieces of it as a little kid, but I never really watched the full context of the film. I really instantly fell in love with it when I bought this on Blu-ray, and this is arguably one of the best sequels of all time. And this is another sequel that truly surpassed the original. And fun fact, Sigourney Weaver got nominated for Best Actress for this film, a blockbuster movie that doesn't happen that quite often. I mean, we don't often see a lot of actors get nominated for Best Actors or Actresses in a big blockbuster movie. Not ever since The Dark Knight with Heath Ledger when he won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. I thought that the characters were very well established. I love that now that we get more full in depth with Ellen Ripley's character, and she's becoming more of a leading character in this one than she did in the last movie. The last movie, she was technically not the leading character in the movie. They just had a group of crew people that most of them get killed off by left and right center, and only to see that Sigourney Weaver's character, Ellen Ripley, who was the sole survivor of this whole incident against the xenomorphs. Not only that they dealt with the one xenomorphs, now we're going to be dealing with like 50 of xenomorphs, the whole the queen's offsprings, and it puts you on the edge of your seat. It added more of an action thriller than a horror movie because the last Alien film was a horror film. Then we meet up with this sole survivor of in the terraforming colony with a little girl, Newt, who doesn't talk much and who hasn't spoken since a lot of her people, including her parents, were murdered by the xenomorphs, and she was the last one standing, and she's been hiding out ever since. And we see a lot of great relationship growth between Ripley and Newt. Their relationship was so good; she literally becomes a mother figure to her to Newt's character. Because fun fact, if you have not seen the special edition, and this is a little bit of a spoiler, if you have not watched the extended cut that James Cameron had taken out of the cutting room floor in the theatrical cut, we start to see that Ellen Ripley did had a daughter.
She was cremated and interred at Westlake Repository, Little Chute, Wisconsin. No children.
And it really devastated her. And when you watch it now later in the movie, it adds a little bit of an impact to her character. Now she's had a little girl that reminds of her own daughter, and I'm fine with it if they wanted to leave that out. But it was a very rewarding when we see her try to have a relationship growth with Newt's character. And I love the two additional characters that are two Marines. Bill Paxton was actually an incredible addition because for those of you who don't know that this is not the first time that he worked with James Cameron. He made it the first of small appearance at the beginning of the movie, the first Terminator film. He was one of the punk group of people that get killed off by the Terminator in the beginning of the film. And I thought that he was such an incredible addition. There's a lot of memorable quotes in the movie for Bill Paxton, like "Game over, man! Game over!"
Well, that's great. That's just fucking great, man. Now what the fuck are we supposed to do? We're some real pretty shit now, man.
Is it your fault?
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
He was just a likable idiot. And you also have Michael Biehn, who was playing another big role since the first Terminator movie, who played Kyle Reese. Michael Biehn was also a great addition. He was not one of those ignorant soldiers, a big grunt that just shoots first and asks questions later. He's a type of character that is be very open-minded and willing to listen to Ripley because from her experience, she knows what she's talking about because she has come across with one of these things and she's lived it and she survived it. And he was willing to listen to her and he was very understanding. I loved how they've handled his character. I loved that the chemistry between her and Sigourney Weaver, it was golden. And fun fact, they almost did not get Sigourney Weaver for this role for Ripley because they almost didn't they didn't think they were able to afford her or she wasn't going to be available. And James Cameron was still going to make this movie with or without her. Just he was willing to make a new character and a standalone story, which essentially this is a standalone story where you don't really have to watch the first Alien movie to know what's going on in this. It stands on its own. It has its own identity. It doesn't try to like copy and paste off of the first film what really Scott had brought to the table. He really took it and made it his own and brought his own identity and flavor. And I thought he nailed it. And this is, and if I don't recall, if I remember correctly, I don't know the precise number of how much money this movie made on the budget. It was probably $18 million. But I thought that the budget itself was so well done. The production value was great. It was done so well on a smaller scale where they didn't have to rely on world building. They didn't have to rely on the spectacle. They relied on characters. And Ellen Ripley had such a great character study. There's a scene in the movie, and I'm going to get into a little bit of spoilers for those of you who have not watched Aliens. She starts to have been having nightmares of her big traumatic experience with the xenomorph, and she wakes up in a cold sweat. She's been having nightmares because everyone she knew and loved are gone. Her entire crew got killed. We come across with this new synthetic android, Lance Henriksen, who also played a cop in the first Terminator movie, and this is not the first time he worked with James Cameron. This is another film that he's very well established, but she does not trust this android because the last android that she had with her own crew turned against her and got the whole crew killed, and he was essentially the main antagonist.
I'm shocked. Was it an older model?
Yeah, the Hyperdyne system's 128.2.
Well, that explains it, and the A2s always were a bit twitchy. That could never happen now with our behavioral inhibitors. It is impossible for me to harm or by a mission of action allow to be harmed a human being. You sure you don't want some?
Just stay away from me, Bishop. You got that straight?
And I thought Lance Henriksen was another great established character, and I thought he was so well handled in the movie. I love that we get to know the Marines. They never felt one-dimensional. They never felt dull or ignorant, even though that they didn't know what the hell they were getting themselves into, but they were willing to work together and collaborate as a team. They felt like they were actually Marines, and they felt like they had great chemistry. And fun fact, because while James Cameron was shooting the movie, the crew did not know that they were actually filming it as they were having a big conversation and having a discussion in a cafeteria. When we get into the scene when they were having a big interaction, they didn't had no idea that the camera was still rolling. But that's how great that James Cameron was during the production of the film. He gets a little bit tricky. He needed to make sure that it's perfect and organic. And every women and men were so believable as Marines. They felt like brothers and sister in arms. And I loved it. I love the action set pieces. The visual effects were outstanding. And most of the stuff has been like 95% practical. I didn't know how much CGI that they had. I don't think there were very many in this movie. Most of the stuff is done practical, especially with the xenomorphs. There were so many of them this time around in this movie. It just put you on the edge of your seat. You felt terrified. And also, when you try to shoot them with bullets, they splatter with their acid blood all over them if you try to get close. So you had to use the flames, the torch, to torch them without having to get those acid blood splatter over you and burn you. There was one scene in the movie, which if I remember correctly, I think that was Michael Biehn was the one that used the shotgun and shot that xenomorph at a close range, and the acid got splattered all over him.
Eat this!
But also, James Cameron did a great job with bringing the tension and the suspense and made me care about Ripley's character. She's another great female-led action hero, and this is where she gets to be the badass Ripley we know her today. It felt like she built upon it. She literally had to like train herself to become a soldier because she was never a soldier at first. And she had to step up and try to rescue the little girl that she cares about that was taken by the xenomorph queen. And it was never really about the aliens. This was more about Ripley and the character relationship between her and Newt's character. Overall, this is another great classic sequels that will stand the test of time. It is a masterclass of filmmaking by James Cameron himself. He's very talented and very sophisticated to what he wants the audience to see. He's such an incredible visionary filmmaker and a visionary world builder. And I give James Cameron all the credit. I will always go back and watch the first Ridley Scott's Alien in and appreciate for what it was. It is no doubt one of the all-time classic sci-fi horror movies, but this one, James Cameron really took it and put it into a whole new level and still managed to make it work, even after several years later of waiting for the sequel to get made. 20th Century Fox picked the right guy to direct the sequel, and he did a great job. Now, have you seen this movie? What did you think of Aliens? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Let me know in the comment section below. And also, one thing I forgot, the iconic line that was brought in the movie that's been used throughout time from television shows to movies, when Ripley, Sigourney Weaver's character, said, "Get away from her, you bitch."
Get away from her, you bitch!
Wow, that line never gets old. It's been used before in a lot of movies and shows these days, and it still holds up to this day. And one thing I wanted to bring up, when you go back and watch the Wes Craven's Scream 2 movie, there's a scene in a film class where Jamie Kennedy's character Randy is in it, and they talk about the list of sequels that surpassed the original, and Aliens was brought up, and we see Joshua Jackson's character, who was one of the students in film class. He said that Aliens is a classic, and he says, "Get away from her, you bitch," when he was quoting the movie. And then Randy suddenly gives him shit for misquoting the movie and saying, "I believe the line says, 'Stay away from her, you bitch.'" It's film class, right?
No, Aliens is a classic, okay? Get away from her, you bitch. I believe the line is "Stay away from her, you bitch." It's film class, right?
In the film class, professor just say, "Yeah, he agrees," with Jamie Kennedy's side. When you look back on that film, you're like, no, Joshua Jackson's character got the quote right and Randy got the quote wrong. I don't know if that was done on purpose by Wes Craven, or is this just one of Wes Craven's movie mistake that he literally misquoted Aliens by mistake. If you want to follow me on social media, the link tree would be down in the description down below, where you will find my social media platforms on there. I'm more active on Threads, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. And if you like this video, leave it a like and subscribe to my channel for more videos. My channel is starting to grow like crazy, and I'm so happy for your guys' support. I really love you guys. I'm not just saying this just because that my channel is growing. I really mean this from the bottom of my heart. You guys are the reason why I'm still going, and because I love talking about movies. I love expressing my opinion. I hope you guys have a great day, great evening, wherever you are. I hope you guys stay safe and take care.